Okay, I kind of like the Winter Night variation the most out of, you know, some of the ideas that I saw, but we're just going to change things up just a little bit. We are going to have Heatran here, okay, but we are going to run Substitute on it, and I think this helps a lot against other Trick Room teams. I think just setting up Heatran behind a Substitute and alternating your Protects to stall out those Trick Room turns is going to be very, very important in this kind of team. Then from there, rather than Thundurus, I do like Grimmsnarl on this team. I just like the idea of just having screens on this where you're just able to make the entire team relatively bulky, right? Rillaboom is already like somewhat bulky, so now let's add more to it. Same with the Heatran, like Heatran behind screens, it's hard to break, right? So I like that idea. And of course, our other option here is going to be that Galarian-Moltres idea, which I like a lot. And the whole idea with Moltres is, you know, you can hide behind the screens, take minimal damage, maybe get into the Berserk range, start dealing a lot of damage after that, and then set up nasty plots, you know, behind those screens to, you know, be able to, you know, pick up potential KOs from there, right? And then this also gives you something to use against Cresselia, right? Because you are a dark type. I understand that a lot of them have Terra Fairy Moonblast, but that's not going to kill, right? That's not strong enough. In fact, that you actually want them to click that, because that just puts you in Berserk range, and then you're just able to KO them right back. So I like this idea of also having a flying type with the Sneasler, because if you fear that ground move coming in, you can always just pivot into the Moltres and bait that ground type attack already from the get-go, and the Moltres is in a bit of a better spot in the next turn against a ground type user, like maybe a Landorus or Ursaluna trying to pick up the KO on the Sneasler. You can save it for the end game, right? So I like this idea. Hide behind screens, make the entire team bulky. We got, you know, 3 physical attackers, we got 2 special attackers, and now we have a support Pokemon. So in terms of like composition, we have a pretty good balance of what we want in terms of flexibility, right? Which is always important in a tournament type team where, you know, you might want to utilize different options in that best of 3 match. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go back here to Sneasler, and we're going to finish off this team in terms of the movesets, the EVs, and the item choices, and then we'll showcase a couple sample games of using the squad. Okay, so let's go back here. Okay, so Sneasler again with Fake Out, Dire Claw, and Close Combat being your 2 stat moves. Of course, Dire Claw, again, 50% chance to either sleep, poison, or paralyze the target. That's really, really good in terms of inflicting status. Paralysis is another form of speed control, but sleep can also really, really do some detrimental damage to an opponent. And of course, the Close Combat is a very, very strong fighting move against all the Ruined Pokemon, of course. Great against other Steel types. Really good against Hisui and Gudra, which is something that's running around. And then, you know, just a very, very good aggressive fighting move. And then over here, again, if you prefer acrobatics, you know, with the Terra Flying stuff, you can do that. I think that's a good move. Otherwise, I think Protect is just perfectly reasonable. Protect just gives you a little bit more flexibility and positioning in some of your games. You can bait out attacks, of course, and stall out also, you know, potential Tailwind or Trick Room turns, right? So I always like Protect, but if you like the acrobatic stuff, you know, feel free to put that, but I like Protect in the slot. The Rillaboom here, we're going to keep it relatively standard here with Fake Out, U-turn, Knock Off, and then a Grass move here. So I was thinking about, like, again, if you like Woodhammer, this is totally fine, but in the testing that I was doing, you know, I was doing Drum Beating, which is, again, another good Grass move, another form of speed control that you can utilize. And behind screens, you can go for this move because you can take some damage and then lower opponent's speed. And then from there, you can potentially bring in the Sneasler and or Urshifu and just outspeed threats and then just punch them, right? So I was using Drum Beating for a bit. And again, I like Terra Fire here just so that, again, you can take resisted fire type attacks. You don't get burned from like a Will-O-Wisp, for example. You know, it's just a good Terra type option on Rillaboom. The Urshifu here, again, I like Focus Sash. I think Sash Urshifu is always very, very good. Mystic Water is also very, very strong, but having the option of Focus Sash just creates different scenarios that you don't get to utilize if you don't have a Sash in the first place, right? So I do like Sash here, and we might as well use it because we don't have anything here that wants a Sash anyway. So yeah, I feel like those Mystic Water builds are only like good on Tailwind teams where like you can afford to drop your speed and just, invest more into an adamant nature and a little bit more bulk, right? The Heatran leftovers is really good in terms of like substitute recovery stuff. Then you just want Heat Wave and Earth Power. I think this is totally fine in terms of like what we want our Heatran to do. It's great against, like, again, opposing grass types, like a Rillaboom, also a Mungus for that matter. Good against other steel types, not named Hisui and Gudra, of course. So it gives you that option there. The Grimmsnarl here, again, we mentioned Spirit Break, Light Screen, Reflect. I do like Thunder Wave here. This is our form of speed control, similar to the Thunderous idea, with Thunder Wave on that side. And of course, I like the Light Clay for, you know, extended screens. You know, extended bulk is always very, very good. The Moltres here, Berserk with the Citrus Berry is always nice. Sometimes you may even just debate Amoonguss on teams like this, but again, that wouldn't really sit well with the Sneasler and the Rillaboom, right? So from here, Fiery Wrath, Air Slash, and Nasty Plot. And here again, this is where you, the viewer, can utilize either Tailwind on your Moltres, where you can just make your entire team faster, or again, not opt for the Tailwind and just simply go Protect here. I feel like this team, you know, behind Grimmsnarl screens, Protect is very, very good, right? You just utilize Nasty Plot, and, you know, unless there's like another Urshifu on the team, Protect is always really, really good. And now you have 1, 2, 3, 4 Pokemon with Protect along with screens, so I think it's a great way in terms of like a good balance in what we're trying to utilize with our options here in terms of setup, right? So in terms of Terra types, I think Terra Poison is really good. Steel's another option that we've used before, but this is already good enough in terms of resisting you know, Flutter Mane type attacks. Same thing with the Grimmsnarl. I think Poison is also good here. And the Heatran, of course, the Terra Grass with Flash Fire, similar to the Ceruledge idea. You know, you can't click a fire move against a grass type because then you just absorb it and deal more damage next turn. The only way to really deal big damage is to use either like an ice type attack or another flying type attack, you know, which we have options for already anyway. In terms of the Urshifu, I feel like just Terra Waters are always okay. If you want to get around the Amoonguss with the Rocky Helmet shenanigans, you can definitely go Terra Grass. That's always an option, and then at least you get some immunity to Spore, potentially. But yeah, and I think this is it. Yeah, we have all of our Terra options. So now let's go ahead and go into our EV spreads. Okay, so back to Sneasler here, and like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, like Landers is a problem. So at the very least, without the Grassy Seed, I want to be able to, without the Grassy Seed Unburden boost, I want to be able to at least outspeed Landorus to potentially maybe get off an important, you know, close combat or Dire Claw, you know, if I ever need to do it, right? But in terms of that, Jolly Landorus hits about 156. So again, I just put it to about 157, 158 to outspeed it actually. So this is all I need in terms of outspeeding Landorus. And then, of course, if I have the Unburden boost activated, then I pretty much outspeed everything, right? And now I have 268 EVs left to play with, where I can just put them into attack, some bulk, right? Which is always, which is the idea, right? So with the Rillaboom on the team, the benchmark that I want to hit with the HP is 176. This will optimize for the grassy terrain recovery. You get a perfect, I believe, 11 HP recovery per turn, if I remember my math right. Yep, it is a perfect 11. So we have that going for us. And then again, 204 EVs, so we can go into Adamant Nature here, of course. And the whole idea with this math is actually with 1 point in defense, along with the Grassy Seed boost, this is all we need to survive the Lander Stomping Tantrum, which I'll show you a sec with the damage calc. But in terms of like, you know, going with our attack stat, I think just the second bump here with Adamant Nature 156. So you see how you go from 185 to 187, you jump an extra point there, whereas like normally this slider just goes up by 1 point here. And again, this is what we call an EV bump. So with every 80 EVs invested, you'll hit the bump in the natured stat. So in this case, it's Adamant. So that's where I'm stopping here with 156. And again, if you want to understand more about EV bumps, feel free to comment in the video description below asking what they are, and I will, you know, fully explain it like I always do. I feel like there's always at least one person that asks what are EV bumps, and I always answer them every time. Then you have 44 EVs left. You know, that's just your leftover bulks. You might as well just dump it into special defense. And now let's go into the damage calculator. So this way I can show you at least that damage calc I was talking about with Sneasler. So let's go here with a blank set. level 50 Pokemon here. This is Landorus. All right, we'll leave it at 116 adamant nature. That's totally fine. But again, 164 HP. All right, with 4 defense EVs, and again, if you go with the +1 boost, because of the Grassy Seed, we actually survived the Stomping Tantrum relatively well, so that's good. Up to 95%. Earthquake, 93%. And again, this is without the grassy terrain to weaken the earthquake damage. And actually, this is under 50, which means this earthquake is actually a 3-hit KO. So that's actually really, really good. Of course, that doesn't affect Stomping Tantrum, but at least Adamant 116 Landorus were able to survive. If this was Jolly 252, I think we have essentially the same kind of calc, right? Where, yeah, we actually still live the Stomping Tantrum, and now we also live the Earthquake, right? Thanks to the defense boost. And if luck has it, right, if we also have Reflect going for us, again, that does even less damage, right? You know, thanks to this. So, yeah, we have already achieved the calc that we have. Now, the only thing I want to do here is just optimize the defense boost over here, because again, with the Grassy Seed getting a +1 boost, that'll give you an odd number here, 81 times 1.5. So what we're going to do is just take 1 point off the special defense over here and just put it in the defense like this. So this way, again, we're going to get a whole number after we do 82 times 1.5 from the Grassy Seed. Okay? And that's what I got out of my Sneasler spread. Again, what did I do? I made sure I was faster than Landorus without the Grassy Seed boost, Unburden combination. I went to the second benchmark in the attack stat. I optimized my HP for the grassy terrain, and the leftover bulk, I went into an even number for the defense to, you know, get a little bit more optimum number from the defense boost from the Grassy Seed, and leftover EVs were just into special defense. Okay, and now for the Rillaboom. So here, I always like to do 132 HP investment, because again, that hits it to 192 mark. Which again optimizes for the grassy terrain recovery. And then from here, I just did something a little bit different. Instead of going like with the third benchmark here in the attack stat, I just went full attack Rillaboom with a little bit of speed here, 52 investment. So this way, you know, after a, you know, plus or -1, I'm able to outspeed base 100s like a Chi-Yu, like a Zapdos, for example. You know, if I ever need to do that, right? And then from there, 60 defense investment. Special defense investment, again, getting a nice little even number here for our assault vest, and then the remaining just went into defense like this, right? That's our Rillaboom set for our AV set. Okay, the Urshifu here, this is the easiest one. You can just do simply 252, 252. You have a focus sash. Instead of putting in special defense here, I will put this in HP here because I have a Rillaboom. Again, just like the Sneasler, I am optimizing for that grassy terrain recovery, so I'm gonna get 1 extra HP of recovery. Which you might not think matters, but it actually does matter, okay? In competitive Pokemon, every bit of HP counts. The Heatran here, so, you know, again, with the Heatran, I just want to go modest here. I'm going to be slow and bulky, but the whole idea is, can I calc to survive Landorus with either Grassy Terrain or maybe like Reflect Boost, right? I am 4 times weak. I do have the ability to go Terra Grass, but I want to see if I can actually survive that. So, the trademark here is I'm going to go 76 investment here, at least the first benchmark in the special attack stat. So not like a huge hitter in the Heatran here, but at the very least, I can be bulky behind Substitute and just deal damage, right? I will go to the 192 mark because, again, this will optimize for my leftovers recovery. And now I have 228 EVs left where I can, you know, put this into certain bulk EVs or a little bit of speed. But if I have a damage calc in mind, then I will go for that, right? So I'm going to go here, keep the Landorus over there, and let's go into Heatran, where, again, I'm just going for, you know, 204 HP. That'll get me to 192 HP mark. So if I just take a look at these calcs here, without anything, no Grassy Terrain, no Reflect, Earthquake destroys me, and Stomping Tantrum is even worse, right? Then if I put in Reflect, 62.5% chance, 50% chance, so a little bit better, but again, not a super great roll. Then again, you know, I didn't put any defense EVs there, right? So let's see if I can do something here, right? Again, this is a Jolly 252. So let's see if I can actually survive this, right? I think I can. So, oh, we're actually almost there already. Okay, we're getting close. 92. Oh, this is pretty good. All right, this is 6.3% chance from the Earthquake. This is about 18% chance So that's not too bad. Let me try and get a little bit more out of this. So this is still 6.3. All right, let's go with 140 here. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So now Earthquake is a definite live, and the Stomping Tantrum 6.3% chance. So that's good. All right, I like that. This is with Reflect. And again, if I have grassy terrain up, the Earthquake, you know, again, without Reflect, the Earthquake still doesn't kill me. Stomping Tantrum, again, unaffected by the terrain. But at the very least, if I have Reflect up, I can still live that. And Earthquake is actually a 3-hit KO over here, you know, with Reflect up there. Right? Again, this is Jolly 252 Landorus. So hopefully you get a very, very favorable roll here, right? But 108 investment is all I need. Okay, then from there, I have 120 EVs left to play with, so I'm just going to do this. You know, 112 benchmark is a good number here. Again, what you do end up doing is speed tying your Rillaboom. So you want to keep that into account. So what I'm going to do with my Rillaboom here is actually just take 1 point off the defense here and just make this 60 defense. I'm sorry, 60 speed. So this way I don't speed tie my own Heatran here. So at the very least I have that, right? Or you can just take off one defense EV and put another one in speed and sacrifice your calc a little bit. But I feel like this is a relatively good number in terms of where we want the Heatran. The Grimmsnarl here, I just went for benchmarks here. I wasn't trying to calc anything. I'm still going to go with like careful nature, of course. You know, just hit the second bump here, you know, with 116 investment. All right, and then, you know, a little bit of speed, 1 point in the attack. I don't need Grimmsnarl to be a big attacker. And then just max HP and the rest just gets stumped into defense like this, right? So this is okay in terms of what we want out of our Grimmsnarl. And in fact, actually what I want to do, I think maybe I do this, right? Let's see, is this optimal? Oh wait, no, I still had some EVs left. Wait, what am I doing? No, this is okay. We'll leave it like this. So, wait, no. There we go. Yeah, we'll just leave it like that. That's still okay. All right, Moltres. So Moltres, modest nature, similar idea to the Heatran. You know, again, just a nice little even number here for the Citrus Berry. I just want the first benchmark in the modest nature. And then what I was calculating for was a few things. Either you calc for Qianpao Ice Spinner, which is something like this, right? And then you do pretty much this, right? Or you do the, actually it's more like this. Or you do the Fluttermane calc with the Moonblast Modest 116, which is pretty much the reverse, where you have like no defense, but then all the EVs in special defense, right? So what is this? 140, right? I think this is correct. Yeah. So depending on what calc you want, do you want the Ice Spinner calc or do you want the Fluttermane calc? You know, I want a little bit more defense, so I just decided, you know what? I have Terra Poison anyway, so let's just go calc for the Qianpao stuff, right? So 140 is where I went, and then the 120 speed mark, you know, will also outspeed some of the genies, you know, after the Thunder Wave boost. So I went for that benchmark as well, right? Because that'll get you to the 180 mark. All right, so I think that's it in terms of our EV sets, right? I just want to make sure I got all the Terra options. So yeah, this is pretty much it. This is a Sneasler Rillaboom team. Very standard, something that's already been proven, okay? And now what I'm going to do is just showcase it in a couple of test games. So this way you can see how the team functions, all right? Let's take a look. Okay, so we're playing actually against one of our viewers. I asked them, hey, can you help me out with one of our games so this way we can use it for YouTube? And we've asked our trusted viewer Coin Flips, which he's you know, been on the channel before. But I built this team during coaching. It's the Cresselia Ursaluna stuff with Heatran, Amoonguss, and Urshifu Rapid Strike with the Iron Hands here. I utilized this core also a little bit for our Moltres squad, and they both worked relatively well. I want to make this a rental, actually. I think this is a really, really cool team, and it functioned well. So he's a Trick Room team, which means Heatran with Substitute is definitely coming. I do like Moltres, you know, for, again, the Cresselia and the Amoonguss stuff, as well as the Urshifu. I feel like Moltres matches up relatively well. I do have to watch out for the Iron Hands, but we do have the Heatran for that, especially because we have access to Earth Power. Okay, and then from there, I feel like, you know, Sneasler and a Rillaboom are also relatively nice as well. So let's go ahead and let's click the play button here and see how the match plays out. So here's my Moltres and here's my Heatran, and there's the Iron Hands and there's the Cresselia, right? So the Iron Hands is a good lead here. You know, fake out plus trying to set up Trick Room. You know, I taught them that during the coaching session, of course. So the Moltres is under a little bit of pressure here. The Iron Hands also has, you know, access to Drain Punch, which also puts pressure on the Heatran. And, you know, he does have the Trick Room stuff. So he's going to get it up. I can't stop that. But I at least want to be in a little bit of a better position next turn. So what I'm going to do is protect the Moltres here, which is exactly what he does. And I go for the substitute because he can't afford to take big damage on his Cresselia with the Moltres. Because the flinch would be very, very detrimental. It would basically just stop the Trick Room and I get off big damage. And then next turn, I put pressure on the Cresselia and the Iron Hands, you know, because they don't have Trick Room up, right? So I take the opportunity to basically set up the sub because he's pretty much going for the Trick Room here, right? Which is also okay because now the idea is I'm just going to alternate my sub and protects. So this way I can stall out the Trick Room. Moltres is not in the great spot, so I'm just going to potentially switch this out here, which I end up doing for the Rillaboom. All right, so there's the Wild Charge, which is exactly what he was going for. And the Heatran, and he does go for Calm Mind. That was a tech option that I put on the Cresselia, and I do regret putting that there because the Cresselia ended up being very tough to remove. But again, I do get free damage on the Iron Hands here. Okay, so that's always really, really nice. Now I get Fake Out pressure of my own, right? So this is what I mean. You know, now you have your own Fake Out, which again, against the Iron Hands, doesn't allow him to sweep because that basically burns another turn of Trick Room, right? This is what I mean by having, you know, double Fake Outs plus substitute. Okay, so then I protect, I stall another turn from Trick Room. He goes for the Heatran this time, which is fine. Another Calm Mind. This Cresselia is starting to look relatively scary. I remove the Assault Vest, so this way the Heatran can put pressure on the Iron Hands more with like Heat Waves and or Earth Powers. Okay, but I do fear a Moonblast coming in, and there's not too much I can do about it. But he makes the switch into the Ursaluna, right? Fearing the Heatran Rillaboom combination, and I basically get free damage here, and down goes the Ursaluna. So I do understand the swap, but giving me the Ursaluna like that was actually very, very devastating, right? Because that was essentially his big Trick Room sweeper besides the Iron Hands. So that was an interesting call there, but you know, I do respect it. So now comes back the Heatran of his own. He clicks Earth Power to my own Heatran. Right, he's a little bit faster. Of course, there's the Moonblast +2 Cresselia. Again, looks like it might hit a lot, but again, I have an Assault Vest Rillaboom. Okay, I go for knockoff. That's good damage into the Crest, and I knock off his Mental Herb. Free Earth Power into his Heatran. He didn't Terrestrialize, which I think was a mistake. And basically, I just removed an Ursaluna and a Heatran by turn 6. And he's down to 2 Pokemon already. So you see what I mean? Like, he had Trick Room up, but he couldn't really utilize it. He didn't quite have the position, because I had subs up, I had Fake Out pressure, and he had a questionable switch there, right? And a questionable non-Terra. So, but again, he's still learning. We're still coaching him. But there's the Fake Out of his own. I go for another sub because again, he's going for Trick Room yet again. Again, I could have gone for Earth Power, but I know that's not going to kill, and I don't want to be under pressure next turn. So let me just play a little bit more optimal, a little bit more safe by going for that sub. Okay, and now he has his Trick Room up again. I'm going to go into Moltres here because I figure he's not going to Wild Charge a Grass type. He goes for Drain Punch instead. Very interesting play. And there's a Lunar Blessing to heal up his Iron Hands. So again, a little bit more recovery on his end. So then now he went for the Wild Charge. Another Calm Mind. So this Crest is +3, looking very, very dangerous. Good Heat Wave, which again does a little bit more damage now because he went for Terra Grass, because he hated taking Earth Powers, and I knocked off his Assault Vest already, so now he's taking a little bit more damage now, right? But still, now we go into Rillabom. I'm preserving the Moltres for when Trick Room is over. He breaks my sub, he gets a crit, so thank God for sub. More Lunar Blessing, you know, Iron Hands is still maintaining good health here. There's Heat Wave again, still trying to knock out the Iron Hands here. But there's my Fake Out, that's his last turn of Trick Room. Okay. And this is pretty much, again, another substitute where, again, I'm just playing safe. I could have gone for Heat Wave there, but again, I didn't want to miss, so I just decided to go for another sub. All right, so just to make the game a little bit longer than it needs to. Here's the Sneasler finally, right? I'm going for Dire Claw, pick up the Iron Hands here. And there's the Heat Wave, which, again, does a little bit chip, and there's a Trick Room again. So I'm just going to protect the Heatran here, stall another turn. Double protect, actually. You know, again, why not? Might as well. This is where, again, protect is really nice. Sneasler survives, more heat waves, and we get a burn, a fortunate burn. Dire Claw doing a little bit of damage, right? So that's nice. All right, and this is pretty much all she wrote. You know, it's basically a 3-on-1 here. You can't really break me. Oops. And then again, I missed another heat wave. Moltres finally gets in, and it's just a matter of like chipping down and just beating the crest until he can't do anything anymore. So I'm just gonna keep fast forwarding, and there it is, right? So that was an 18 turn game. But again, you saw the value of Heatran sub, and you saw how I was able to, even though I can't stop the Trick Room, I was still able to deal with it because I have the substitute on the Heatran. Let's look at one more. Okay, so this one, I have no idea what he's doing. I understand Fluttermane, Tinglu, Iron Bundle, Corviknight. I don't understand the other two options, but yeah, hey, well, whatever. But this is another game where it looks like Heatran can do relatively well. So I'm going to go with Rillaboom and Heatran yet again. There's the Fluttermane and there's the Iron Bundle here. So this is actually a pretty good lead for me because all I have to do is just fake out the bundle. And then again, I get a free setup of the substitute on the Heatran against his hyper offensive combination. You know, again, if he protects on the bundle, I basically achieve the same thing. So I'm not really too worried there. And I have a grass type that's pressuring a water type. So he actually double protects. I don't know why he double protected the Fluttermane. But I basically just get a free sub here with Grassy Terrain and Leftovers Recovery, right? So he freeze dries. The Rillaboom does a lot of damage. I have an Assault Vest. I'm able to live it. And he doesn't double up on the Rillaboom slot, so that's his mistake. He breaks my sub, but I'm able to get rid of the Iron Bundle, which is good news for me. All right, because that was the main thing that was pressuring the Heatran. Now I'm kind of like chilling. He does have a Tinglu that can still pressure the Heatran, but that's still fine because I still have a Rillaboom in the bag. So here's Corviknight. So Corviknight protects, right? I wanted to sack the Rillaboom because the Rillaboom did his job already, but because we have the best EVs on the world in the world, and you know this Fluttermane isn't all that strong, I'm able to survive his Shadow Ball, which means I get a free U-turn, and then I'm able to just get another Mon in next turn, which again is going to be the Urshifu here, right? And we basically pin this Fluttermane slot. Aqua Jet, down it goes, and then now I click Heat Wave, but the Corviknight went with Terra Electric. Right, so that's okay. And there's an Iron Head chip damage. That really doesn't do anything. Heatran is already back to full, so he just basically gave me a free turn to kill his Fluttermane. So now here's the Tinglu. You know, we have an Urshifu here, so that's really nice. So now what we have to do is just overpower with our options. Just get rid of this Corviknight, so this way it's not annoying. But Surging Strikes again. He has a Rocky Helmet, by the way, so that's good. That's a good item. It chips my Urshifu. But again, Earth Power is all I need to kill it. Now it's a 4-on-1. And the Tinglu goes for Ruination on the Heatran. So a little bit of chip damage there. That's not... I feel like you should have just clicked the ground move. But this is now just free Surging Strikes damage. And pretty much all she wrote here. He does get a Fissure off, which is kind of funny against my Urshifu. But, you know, again, we just bring in Rillaboom, where we can just click, you know, again, the drum beating move, the grass move, and, you know, that's pretty much all she wrote, right? So... the entire team functions relatively well. It's just all about positioning, using your fake outs, using your substitutes. But this Sneasler team works relatively well. I think the only Pokemon we didn't use in these two games was the Grimmsnarl, which of course, again, you're going to be utilizing quite a bit, especially against those Tornadus teams. I feel like Grimmsnarl is really, really good against them. So, yeah. All right, one more time. So here is the Pokepaste. And again, this is a good Sneasler team to start off with. We have the Fire, Water, Grass core with Urshifu, Rillaboom, and Heatran. We have screen support from the Grimmsnarl. We have the featured combination with the Sneasler and the Rillaboom, and a good special attacker in the Galarian-Moltres. Another good flying type to help against the ground weaknesses that the Sneasler and the Heatran both suffer. So you always have that nice little flying pivot from there. But hopefully you got some ideas in terms of how we constructed the team, and several of the tournament teams that have already used Sneasler and Rillaboom together. Or even Sneasler and Indeedee. But yeah, if this is something you need help with in terms of building a team, feel free to sign up for coaching on the channel. It's a tier 3 sub. If you look in the comment section, there is a pinned comment to join, as well as in the video description, there is another comment, a link to click where you can sign up with the tier 3 sub. And then from there, you're able to message me on Discord. And then we schedule a one-on-one session where we both have, you know, equivalent time availability. And from there, we build a squad like this where we go through the EVs, we go through certain matchups, and then from there, we get you that team that you need to get your start up to Regulation D off on the right foot. All right, but that's going to do it for now, folks. We'll be back with another video in the next one. Peace out and have a good one.